Hello everyone, welcome to another new episode of ESL Talk. Great to have you here again with us this week, where we're going to get into the topic of speaking clubs in achieving fluency. And we're going to meet our guest Kyrylo, who's going to talk to us a little bit about how he started speaking clubs, why he values them, and how speaking clubs actually helped him on his journey to become a teacher. So it's actually kind of a really lovely full circle interview that we're going to have today with Kyrylo. And also we're going to find out a little bit more about how you can incorporate these speaking clubs, how you can get people in your groups talking more, how you can get your students to talk more, and how you might even do this in an online setting as well. So we'll get into all of that in just a little bit. So just a little housekeeping before we get into today's interview. First things first, please, if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe for new episodes every Wednesday. Our audience is building really well now. We are into 5 figures of downloads every month, which is amazing. So if you can keep supporting us by subscribing, it really helps us a lot. And you can also leave a 5-star review if you wish, just to help again with our exposure to build our audience even further. And if you do want to check back on our previous episodes, they are all there in your podcast of choice, the podcast provider of choice, if that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also go online to esl-talk.com as well, where you can find all our previous episodes, and on our YouTube page as well. So if you prefer a visual and you just like it on in the background, like a lot of listeners say they do, then you can get all of those on YouTube as well. So lots of different ways for you to enjoy all of our episodes from the last few years, 75 plus and counting from the first 6.5 seasons of ESL Talk. Wow, incredible. All right, and let's just remind you of our sponsor, which is esl-curriculum.com. That is perfect if you're an online English teacher and you're looking for materials, resources, lessons, games, things you would like to do with students and you don't have the time to prepare or get ready. So just go to the website esl-curriculum.com, sign up for your free 2-week trial, enjoy all the materials and everything that is on there. If it's not for you, that's absolutely fine, no problem at all. But if you do find you enjoy it, you can get started from just a few bucks a month, save yourself a lot of time in preparation and planning, and have access to really high quality resources and materials covering all different aspects of English teaching, from children's lessons to writing to speaking to IELTS to business English. It is all there for you with our sponsor esl-curriculum.com. So let's get into today's interview with our special guest Kyrylo, who's going to share with us his experience of speaking clubs, how they helped him to achieve fluency, and how he now uses them with his own students to help them achieve fluency too. Alrighty, welcome Kyrylo. Welcome to the podcast this week. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, Daniel. I'm really glad to be here today.
Yeah, I am too. And we're going to talk about this topic a little bit more about speaking clubs and how it helps to achieve fluency. But before we get into that in more depth, Kyrylo, can you share a little bit about your personal journey of achieving fluency in English as a non-native speaker, and how did speaking clubs maybe help you with this?
Yeah, so I started learning English in the 2nd grade, as most of the people in Ukraine do. And since then, like till the 5th grade, I've been learning all that grammar stuff, words, and it kind of felt like more like a game. I wasn't that much into understanding certain particular points about when to use what and stuff like that. It was just usually more of like putting things together, and it kind of works. You get a good grade and here you go. But then in 2012, Peace Corps volunteers from the United States came to my city, which is Melitopol. They started a speaking club in our local library. And since then, we really had a nice way of practicing our English. My mom, who's also an English teacher, even though a lot of people say that I learned English because of my mom, I definitely can say that she helped me a lot, but it's not like totally about her. She said that it's a good opportunity for me to practice my speaking, and she brought me there. After the first session, I was boiling hot and extremely red. I was kind of ashamed, very shy, and it felt like torture because it was really hard to speak and convey my point, even though I told a story that I prepared ahead of time at school about myself,
Hmm.
but it still was pretty stressful. And then in
Okay.
yeah, so and then in 2014, when Russia occupied Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine, volunteers had to leave because it was too close to the front lines and stuff like that. And so basically, since then, we had our own speaking club without volunteers, which was still pretty cool. And it helped me for sure to improve my English to the point that I could participate in Flex program, which is Future Leaders Exchange program, organized by American Councils for International Education. And in 2018, I went to the United States to study there in American high school
Mhm.
for one academic year. And yeah, basically, speaking clubs made a very big deal for me going to the United States as a result,
Absolutely.
and yeah, which was quite surprising. I couldn't believe that
Yeah.
such opportunity was given to me, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. It's really nice to hear that something so small, this small seed of just a speaking club
Exactly.
played a huge role in your life and actually, defined a lot of things that are going on for you in your career and your life in general. So, okay, we've obviously talked about the motivation of why you wanted to do it because of your own experiences, but how have you found that they've benefited your students and participants? What differences have you seen since you started these speaking clubs?
So yeah, for sure, speaking clubs are pretty important for um, basically improving speaking. And
Hmm.
after using it for myself as a tool for my personal language learning path, I realized that it's so powerful that like everyone should benefit from that. Again, like from the very beginning, you feel extremely stressed. Your body is just going crazy, all the heart rate and stuff like that. But after a couple of times, you feel way calmer, and you get used to the way of articulating your mouth, and
Hmm.
the people around you also hearing you speaking in a different language.
Yes.
It's all, I think, very important. And basically, that was the reason for me to start. Like the extreme um, value of that type of activity that I experienced myself.
Hmm.
And for sure, I can say that I have proofs of many students that it actually works and that they feel more comfortable and relaxed when they speak in
100%.
a different
Yeah.
language. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're creating that informal environment, that kind of casual setting where it feels more relaxed. And you're right, like initially, students or participants will be very shy. They don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to seem like they're doing something wrong. But actually, like you
Hmm.
said, once they get comfortable and they get in that environment and it becomes a friendly, encouraging environment, then they can make more mistakes and that's how they learn. I like what you mentioned about the looking at how people make sounds and how they use their mouth. That's a really
Hmm.
undervalued aspect of pronunciation because a lot of
Absolutely.
students that I talk to say, well, how do I sound more natural or how do I sound more confident? Well, it's how you phonetically make the sounds with your mouth. So I'm really glad that you covered that because it's a really key point. Now, again, we've talked about kind of, the environment, the informality of it, the context of it. So how can we use speaking clubs to enhance language skills beyond maybe traditional classroom settings? We've got some elements in terms of the environment, but what are some specific skills that we could improve and enhance through speaking clubs?
So for sure, I can say that speaking in uncomfortable situations, because
Hmm.
again, at the very beginning, you feel uncomfortable indeed. Also, describing thoughts in a way that people understand you, which is sometimes quite easy in native language. Although some people still struggle with expressing their thoughts in their native language too, right?
Hmm.
You should be pretty clear with your explanations in a foreign language 100%. Then the next thing I can mention is proving an opinion. I
Hmm.
usually share my screen when I run speaking clubs with all the questions. And after each question, I have a slide that includes the question, the sub questions that people can answer, an extra question if they finish up early in their breakout room. And then I also have a bunch of different phrases that they can use for agreeing with people or disagreeing, and then to just state an opinion. And this way they also learn certain Lincoln words, right? Like, for example, however, although, stuff like that, which is extremely important when you write an essay or even an email to someone. And in just colloquial English, you also use such things, even though it is thought to be like more of upper level words. They're still very, very important, and as filler words, they just like really settle in very well. And as a last thing is using patterns. Like when you explain certain things, you just connect your thought to a certain state of the object, right? The time. In English, we have like a bunch of tenses. For Ukrainian speakers, it's kind of crazy because we have only 3. Like when you use them like enough times, you actually create those connections and they become pattern for you. So you're no longer thinking for too long to get an answer or just prove your point. So that's there's still a bunch of things to list, but these are probably the top ones.
Yes. The idea that you covered about strategies, kind of giving, not necessarily a formula, but ways to navigate certain different challenges in English, so that you don't have to use the most advanced vocabulary, you don't have to use the most advanced structures, but can I navigate these problems, these challenges, and build those strategies so that I can, instead of saying, I agree, well, how can you develop that? How can you say more?
Absolutely.
So that we go beyond just the basic, simple structures and patterns that we've learned. And I like those different skills as well, because you might not necessarily get the opportunity to practice that in a classroom setting, especially when it's one teacher and maybe 30 or 40 students. So I think this closer, more open environment is much more beneficial for sure. Okay, so for our listeners, we do have a lot of online English teachers, and they want to try to get their students to speak more and maybe have this element of a speaking club or a speaking class. What advice do you have for them about how they can incorporate this into their teaching methods? How would they go about it?
So what I usually do is running my classes completely in a foreign language. I not only teach English, I also teach Turkish, and recently I started teaching Ukrainian as well. So basically, I try to surround a student with the language, which sometimes can be difficult for teacher and a student who share the native language, right? So they sometimes start to speak in their native language at the very beginning by just sharing some news or things like that. I never allow that by just simply even texting my students in English between the lessons. That is very powerful because they understand that, oh, this person only speaks the language I'm learning, and I should keep up. I cannot express my thoughts in a different language because they kind of connect you with the language you're learning, and you become basically the face of the language. Other than that, definitely incorporating some questions that include question words, which is my favorite. I almost never ask yes or no questions because it's too easy for a student to just be lazy or shy, just to say, no, I don't do that, or yes, I like it. And that's maybe the 2 key things that I do almost every lesson. Also making sure that the student speaks 80% of the time, or at least they try to do that. Like at least they try to speak most of the time of the lesson. So yeah, I think these are the key things for me.
I like that. It can be very tempting to switch to the first language that you have in common, and that creates a bit of a distortion, because what you're encouraging, even though it's not intentional, you don't want to, is okay, switch from one first language to second language, or just doing literal translations. Well, then we lose things with grammar, we lose things with coherence, we lose things with fluency as well. So it can be really, really difficult. But I like that approach, and I think it's really powerful to use it as much as you can in as many situations as possible. Because if I'm not doing something consciously and I'm not doing something deliberately and often, then how am I going to consistently improve? It's going to be very, very difficult to do that. So great advice there, Kyrylo. How can teachers create a supportive and engaging environment in speaking clubs to boost confidence? Because you've mentioned you have shy students, you have students who, they just say yes, no, I agree. How do we kind of build this environment so that everyone can have opportunities, everyone can feel valued, everyone can feel equal? It's difficult. So what would you suggest?
Yeah, so that's what you see right now. I'm smiling all the time. That's what I do in my classroom. I don't know why and how it came to me, but after visiting the United States, I just started smiling more as a daily reminder that life is good. Actually, I'm alive, and even though right now my country is in a terrible situation of war, I understand that I'm still alive and I survived through the hard times. And it's important reminder for my students to be happy about learning a language, right? So a smile is important key to making a friendly atmosphere inside of the classroom, yeah? Even though it's an online classroom for me usually. And the next thing is fixing mistakes, which is maybe the worst thing we can do to a shy person, to fix their mistakes. Say, no, you're not right, this is incorrect, or stuff like that. Even saying the word mistake, I usually try to avoid it. And I usually say, let's fix that and try to make it a little bit better. Let's improve the sentence. I never fix mistakes during the time of the lesson. Yeah, so when they actually make the mistake, I keep track of all of the imperfections. Let's say it this way. Yeah, again, one more euphemism for that. And I write them down. And then at the very end, I dedicate 10 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on the amount of notes I have, to sharing more vocabulary with them that they could have used. And I heard that they're struggling with like finding the actual word that they are looking for. And then in addition to that, using more advanced phrases, maybe improving the grammar in certain sentences. So what I like to do is to write a sentence and ask them to find what can be changed there, what can be improved. And they sometimes find what is incorrect, basically, yeah. But sometimes they don't. So in this case, I just share the actual, answer to the question. Yeah, like what's wrong here? We should just remove that and add this, and this way they can use their brain even more than just me saying, no, this is not right. This is the actual answer. Yeah, when they speak, and which makes them really upset about how well they speak, and makes them question themselves even more. So this way I kind of prevent that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, people don't think sometimes to smile. They're having busy days, they're having things going on. That goes a really long way. Just if you need to model the behavior that you want to see in your class. So by being positive and proactive and smiling, something so small can make a huge difference. And I like what you said about error correction. Instead of actually saying that's wrong, that's a mistake, no, don't say that, we're actually we should be modeling the correct answer. So we might just rephrase it correctly, or we might say that was good, this was good, this was good. Let's make it even better by ABC. So we can do those things and model those. And I like the dedicated focus time. I do this as well. I won't pick out all the errors. If there's a lot, maybe 5 or 6 are the most urgent ones. And I'll say, okay, let's look at these together. Okay, this is a common error with articles. So why don't we connect this to a task on articles that we're going to do for homework? Or tense seems to be an issue, past tense. Why don't we try for telling a story, and so you can definitely connect it a lot more intelligently than just saying, like you said, no, that's wrong, don't say this. And we know as well, Kyrylo, on social media all the time, don't say A, say B. Well, it's not really the most positive way to help deliver and reinforce positive modeling for speech patterns. But that was really, really useful. Thank you for sharing that. So let me move on and let me ask you about your experiences as a teacher, because it sounds like you've had some really wonderful breakthroughs and some really valuable positive results. So could you share any memorable moments from your experiences as a teacher? What are some things that stand out for you so far?
Well, absolutely. Since I started teaching 3 years ago, I'm actually surprised that in such a short period of time, I've got interesting, memorable moments that stood out for me. An example of my student, like one of the first students whom I actually had to stop working with for a certain period of time, had like too much stuff going on in school. He's not like he's not an adult, like about 13 years old. At the time, he was 10, and when we started with him, it was really challenging for this guy to just understand what I'm trying to explain to him, especially in terms of grammar, right? Because I was trying to just like give a really easy explanation with a lot of examples, and trying to be as trying to show it as simply as possible, but still there were a lot of misunderstandings and stuff like that. A couple of months ago, we started working again, and I was just amazed by how well he started speaking after like a long period of time, because I found those recordings we had with him. I tried to explain things really easily and try to show things with simple examples, but still sometimes it was quite hard for him. And after maybe half a year of not working with him, we met again, basically like 1.5 years ago. And then this summer, I found the recordings of him speaking the first lessons. And right now I have this shiver on my hands, and it's like I understood that he improved so much, even though I did not notice that because of the process. Yeah, we were going through a really long amount classes, and so I was surprised by how much he improved over the course of 1.5 years, and how cool it is to see the beginning of your work and then the result. Well, I mean, the temporal result, right? The result we have right now, and to have this perspective and to be able to compare these 2 points. So I think that this might be the most memorable part that I have so far. Maybe the most successful example of how far we can go with as teachers, and how important it is to have this feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Zooming out, like I've had this many times where students have stopped learning for the summer, or they took a break, or they had other things going on in their lives. And when you zoom out and they zoom out for a little bit and they realize, wow, this is actually really helping me, and you see that progress, it's huge and it's life-changing, and it's really encouraging for us as teachers as well. I want to talk to you about resources and tools now. So once you're actually conducting and you're in these settings of these these groups and the language, the speaking clubs, what are some resources and tools that we can use to effectively manage and facilitate them virtually? You've mentioned already you kind of have tools for presenting, but what do you use specifically to help you?
So the main tool is Zoom. I just love Zoom. Its breakout rooms are really helpful when I run speaking clubs, because having too many people in the same meeting might lead to lack of time for each person to express their thought. But with these breakout rooms, it's just wonderful. Then again, I use Jamboard. If the whiteboard in Zoom is not available, or for some exercises that home exercises or home tasks that include I don't know, just writing on the board. It's more fun than just like writing in a Word document.
Yes.
But as far as I'm concerned, Google is closing that. So Miro can be a good replacement as far as I understand. I haven't tried it yet, but I definitely should be quick with adjusting to a new tool. Talking about speaking clubs, I definitely recommend using websites with a bunch of topics and questions to them. For example, itesl.g.org is a nice website that I use. It has like bunch of topics, and you basically endless resource for speaking clubs. Then also a website with breaking news English ESL materials. It has really cool opportunity of having the same news in different levels of English proficiency. And what I like to do with that is just like taking out the words and then asking a student to fit them into the places they belong to, which is sometimes challenging. Like they ask me like, what's the actual like answer to that? Because it's like really close, but still I try to make it possible to solve, because otherwise it's just doesn't make any sense, right? And then like British consuls as well have like bunch of resources for any type of class, like speaking club or just regular lesson. So like basically these are maybe the top ones. For pronunciation, I usually use my own created lessons, because there are not too many resources out there, but it's pronunciation is a completely different thing. So I'm not gonna even like scratch the surface on this topic, because it's just like endless.
That's great. That's a lot of really practical and simple tools. And again, just we don't need to reinvent the wheel and create all these new things. We just need to make sure we use the tools we have as well as we can. So that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience on this topic. I think speaking clubs are a really powerful tool to help our students speak more and build their confidence. How can our listeners connect with you and maybe find out more about what you do, Kyrylo?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. So I'm Jedi, 2 underscores and then K. And then I like Star Wars. That's that's pretty cool. And then I have a TikTok account which is in Ukrainian about Turkish, but still learn with Dizi, as in Turkish TV shows, and then .ua. Yeah, and it's the nickname for the TikTok account and Instagram account. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
That's great. I will add those links below the description for this episode so our listeners can find them there. And thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today about this topic, Kyrylo. It was great to meet you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Have a great day.
All right, so that was our guest, Kyrylo, talking about the power of speaking clubs in achieving fluency. So before we wrap up for another episode this week, just a reminder to give us a follow on Instagram. If you're not already following us, you can just do that at ESL Talk Podcast. You can see all our upcoming episodes, our previous episodes, find out a little bit more about our guests and connect with them as well. And then one last reminder, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for new episodes. We have another brand new episode coming next Wednesday, so be sure to listen out for that. And if you'd like to be a guest on a future episode of ESL Talk, we're always on the lookout for guests who want to share their passion or their enthusiasm about teaching English or teaching ESL. You can just go to the website esl-talk.com, click the button at the top, Be a Guest, fill in a few details, and we'll be in touch with you to arrange a time to interview and to have you on the podcast so you can be featured in a future episode, just like Kyrylo was today. So that is it for this week's episode. We'll see you next week for another brand new episode of ESL Talk. Thanks. Bye.